Welcome back to Phoenix Wright. It's now time to start Day 2 investigation. Last time we exposed Old Bag for not only hiding important photos from the police, but also Old Bag exposed that there was 2 other people that could have been suspects in the crime, but unfortunately, neither one of them showed up in court or were not even mentioned until Old Bag said anything. Even worse, they forced a non-disclosure agreement verbally on everybody, so they couldn't really say anything. Yeah, their jobs was practically on the line, because I think they might have had a policy against, conversing with the media or something like that. That is what a non-disclosure agreement really is, and I think they can legally do that in Japan. America, you have to have it written in order for you to do something like that. Otherwise, everybody in the studio is in the hot seat if there's a murderer involved, basically. So on that note, we're going to have to go to the detention center. And the detention center, we're going to have to speak to Will Powers in order for us to continue on in the progress of our story, but more importantly, we'll actually delve further into this whole ordeal. Sorry about that, I just had to swat something away. It was a mosquito. And, we're gonna have to find out more about this whole non-disclosure agreement, let alone the director, and also the fanboy that was in the vicinity. But, that's the thing. The fanboy that was in the vicinity should have also been brought in as a subject, regardless of his age, regardless of his age, even though he's young. If he was at the scene of the crime, he's either a witness or a suspect. That's one of 2 things. I mean, that's basically common knowledge in American law. But this is Japanese law, so they don't really put kids on the stand like talking about it unless they actually did something. Meanwhile, it's been revealed that the director literally was in the studio at the time of the recording of the run-through. They should have actually mentioned this. But again, non-disclosure agreement. He should have actually said that the whole time. I mean, that would have actually put the director and the producer in the hot seat, but at the same time, that would have gotten as much of suspicion off of him as humanly possible, but he didn't think about that, or rather, he couldn't think about that because, again, non-disclosure agreement. And now that we've come into the studio, we can actually investigate for the time being, since Wendy Old Bag is in custody for now. Honest to God, she does not, well, let's just put it like this. She doesn't really do too much except for to chase kids around and neglect her duties, but still, it'd be just like her working. There's nobody literally here. So, with that said, we could actually examine the place if we want to. And we could examine also the booth too if we wanted to. But we don't need to do that right now. I'm just telling you what we can do here now that Old Bag's gone. For now. But remember, folks, you're going to have a point where you're going to have to come in and use the keys. So on that note, we're going back to the employee area. So, in the employee area, we're going to have to go to Will Powers' dressing room. Well, no, not really, not yet. We'll have to talk to her first. So, Teddy is basically happy that Old Bag is being arrested for the time being. But But at the same time, she also covered up the drain so that the fanboy wouldn't sneak in. About him. Yeah, we're gonna meet him in this part too. Unfortunately, despite all of her hard work of covering up the storm drain, and by the way, she's also terrible at making backdrops. Which begs the question, how in the world did she get this job again? I'm just wondering. But nonetheless, Penny is now pretty much in charge until Obag comes back from the station. So what we're going to do is examine the storm drain. We can examine other things too, but we also can examine the storm drain, well, actually the drain there, and we can proceed with plot. But more importantly, we need to leave that door open because that's how we're going to meet the fanboy. And we're going to need him for this case, obviously. Because again, he saw, well, whatever he saw. So, let's pull the grate off and hopefully we can get someone in here. I mean, it's only big enough for a kid to squeeze through. So on that note, Maya, along with trying to steal and destruction of property, is also adding on to her list of things that she normally doesn't do, even though she's a good girl. So let's go into the dressing room later. But for right now, we need to talk to Penny to make sure that we can actually get some more information of what's going on with the director and also the producer. So on that note, you might as well talk to her. And the police has been here ever since, and unfortunately, they have not yet touched anything. In fact, she haven't touched anything. She hasn't even cleaned up any of the plates. Because those plates can be used for evidence. Spoiler warning, they do become evidence later. So on that note, there are people just constantly trying to find out what's going on. Meanwhile, she also mentioned something about the fanboy gawking at his cards. That's also going to come into play, too. Well, in this day, at least. However, Penny could not actually be accurate in the saying that she did not see the director nor the producer because she was doing props. However, the producer actually saved this studio from closure because she made some moves and all of a sudden the studio was thriving again. So we're going to have to go to the employee area and move straight into the dressing room. Oh Lord, the dressing room. And unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we run into one of the most well-known characters in this game, Sal Manella, who is the director of this. Oh God, did not see that coming. It kind of paused there for a second, but here it is. This is Sal Manella. He's a well-known character. He's the director of this whole entire ordeal, as well as Steel Samurai, but he also speaks in Leet, in case you probably haven't realized. I don't think he does that in the Japanese version, but it's only in the English version that he does. Everything else is just somewhat English, but he's constantly speaking in Elite, and you can see that in his dialogue. He even uses rollful and LMAO. What I have no words for this. But he's also infamous for one thing: that face. Dear Lord, that face. Oh God. That is the face of nightmares. And he's practically thinking about putting Mai in a new TV show. The Pink Princess. And this is basically how the Pink Princess looked in the video games. It was much more fan servicey in the anime because, well, Sal Manella was actually thinking of putting Maya in the costume, and he envisioned Maya in the costume. So on that note, we're gonna have to talk to Sal Manella to get the 411 of what's going on in the day of the crime. Now, I want you to pay attention to his dialogue. The fact that one, the security lady told Olbak told him about the lawyers, and two, that the meeting was in the Studio 2 trailer. And the thing is, he was so busy dealing with the actual wrap-up shots that he wasn't able to get himself lunch. And he was stuck there in the oh wait, actually it was a meeting first. But he was there during the wrap-up, so that is something that's true. He didn't get done with all this. He didn't get done with all the actual work until 4 o'clock. Oh, wait, De Vasquez? I just thought about it. Sal Manella, De Vasquez, more puns. Jesus Christ, Capcom, seriously? Anyway, they were all trapped in Studio 2 because remember folks, the monkey's head fell right off and crashed into a tree, so therefore there was no way that any of the bigwigs could actually leave the studio at around 2:15. So unfortunately for him, he was basically trapped in a meeting with shareholders, network executives, and producers, and he literally had, well, nothing to say except nodding his head, so he's practically scared to death, but we're gonna have to move to the guard area. We don't need to... Actually, let's move over to the main gate area. Because Olbak's supposed to make a return. Or rather, we move up to outside Studio 1. Hold on one second, I'll be right back. Whew, sorry, I had to step off for a little bit. I was kind of getting thirsty, so I had to drink a lot of water. Anyway, we're going to have to go to Studio 2 in order for us to continue the story. The thing of the matter is, well, we could go into Studio 2's lot. Its trailer, on the other hand, is a different story. And also, Sal Manella brought up the trailer, too. So any clues that could be found in the trailer. On that note, let's move to Studio 2, shall we? And for the record, we have one more trip inside of Studio 1, but that won't be until later. I will say this, though. Eventually, you'll no longer have access to Studio 1. So be prepared for that and get whatever you need done. Oh, And by the way, there was a sound coming from the trailer. And if you probably would not have guessed, whoever's inside has done something pretty suspicious. Spoiler warning, they locked the door from the inside. So on that note, we're going to have to go back to the main gate in order for us to get the key so that we could get into the trailer. That's the only way we're going to proceed. But get into the habit of examining items, specifically the plate, and more importantly, specifically that fence that was right near the trailer. For the love of God, make sure that you examine the fence, or get into the habit of examining the fence. Because if you don't, you're probably not going to be able to proceed with the entirety of this plot. So remember that. And Old Bag is back. And pissed off at the fact that she got fingered for something she didn't do. Which begs the question, how the fuck did the police have a spare steel samurai suit? Whatever the case, she's innocent and she was let go. Unfortunately, we now have an angry Old Bag to have to talk to. Or we would, if she wasn't pissed off. So on that note, we're just going to move back to the dressing room. We might as well. Talking to Old Bag is completely irrelevant, because she's not going to say any... Oh, there's our fanboy right there. But as I was saying, talking to Old Bag is irrelevant, because she's not going to say anything. And that's why we had to open the storm. No, that's why we had to open the drain, because the boy snuck in. This boy in general is a fanboy known as Cody Hackins. And Cody Hackins is actually a key to this case. And unfortunately, Cody just called her a hippie. Just called her a hippie. But yes, he's an obsessed fanboy with the Steel Samurai. So you could try to talk to him, but you're not going to get much out of it. And Maya had to use her intelligence about the Steel Samurai in order to get on his kid's good side. So we'll have to at least ask him one more thing. What happened? And then the bombshell. He was not only here, but he saw everything. So he's not gonna actually like sell out his hero. But he did say he saw everything. So what exactly did he see? He's not gonna tell, because there's something you have to do first. And that is, we're gonna have to help him out later on. However, something very important just fell off of the table when he tried to escape. Something that also will crack this case. The bottle of sleeping pills. Yes, like I said, Cody is the key to this case. And I may have jumped the gun investigating the table, but the bottle of sleeping pills is definitely going to be the thing that breaks this case, which pretty much absolves all of... Well, it actually absolves Will Powers of being a criminal, because that bottle of sleeping pills just so happened to be right where he was eating. And Old Bag went to chase after Cody, so therefore, while she's chasing after Cody, it's a good idea for us to go straight after the keys. Because after all, we need those keys in order to get into Studio 2. In fact, let's examine and get the keys. Let's see, first we stole a map, then we stole a key card, then we opened up a drain after somebody opened it, and we closed it up, and now we're stealing keys. So, on that note, let's take these keys, and let's run away. Yes, let's go straight to Studio 2, and now we can get into the trailer. So let's set up outside Studio 2, and let's examine the door to the trailer. Okay. That van also play an important role too. Oh, shit. Excuse me, sorry about that. My chair almost fell over. Be right back. Dear Lord, sorry about that. My chair almost fell over with me in it. I wasn't leaning or anything. So I had to go get another chair. Whatever the case, ladies and gentlemen, we need to at least get into the habit of examining all of these things, because guess what? We're going to have to examine them later, and they'll come into play. And yeah, I am jumping the gun, but let's also examine the door. But also, the fence plays an important part too. You see that fence right there? It's broken to the side as if somebody fell on it. Or somebody kicked it in, whichever one comes first. So let's open the door, shall we? And now with the door open, let's go in. And, excuse me. Move into the trailer. And here's where we meet De Vasquez. Or D. Vasquez. Who is just smoking on a pipe for no reason, other than smoking on a pipe. However, she is the person responsible for this studio. And she definitely gives off the aura of being, well, a very intimidating person. Despite being beautiful and despite being over the age of 40. I think she's 37 or 40. Never quite established that. But whatever the case. I thought she was... No, wait, no, 42. Never mind, she's 42. But, in order for to actually get any information out of her, we're gonna need the script. So on that note, we're going to have to go to Studio 1 to get the script. But first, we're going to have to talk to Sal Manella, because he may know where in Studio 1 it is. I mean, she's trying to make the show go on, despite the fact that there was a murder in the studio. But she's adamant about trying to get money into the studio regardless. Now, we ask her a question and she's not gonna be responsive. She's just smoking her pipe and not caring. Now then, if I was a betting man, I'd say that she's just hiding something. But that's just my interpretation. I mean, look at the way she's holding her cigar, or pipe. Or she's just trying to be intimidating, whichever one comes first. So on that note, we're gonna have to go and talk to Sal Manella. But before we do, we need that memo from Vasquez, so we're gonna have to give it to him. We're gonna have to give that to Sal Manella. And unfortunately, Maya has no choice but to comply. Poor Maya. And the memo reads, "Bring me the script for episode 13. Which, by the way, the Steel Samurai case all happened in episode 12. So we're going to be going to the main gate first, and then we're going to move over to the employee area and talk to Sal Manella. We're going to have to present the memo before anything else. I can't believe we're actually being gophers. Oh shit. This is going to be one of those days, I suppose. But yes, we will have to go back to Studio 1 because that is unfortunately where he left the script, and Sal Manella literally said, my ass will be pwned if I don't get the script. Who says pwned anymore? In fact, who even speaks in lead anymore? Let's just move. We'll get out of the employee area and have to move all the way to the main gate. Hold on. And then we're going to go over to Studio 1 one last time. Wait, yeah, let's move over to Studio 1. So, we can actually examine all the stuff here, but quite frankly, what we need to examine is the chair. Well, I don't think that's a part of the ladders and stairs argument, but just in case, if you've missed the opportunity, this is your last chance to get it. So with that said, instead of actually examining the reflector screen, we should have examined the director's chair that had the script in the chair. But unfortunately, the game's finicky like that. Ah, there we go. So now that we found the script in the chair, now all we need to do is just simply hand it to Sal Manella. Now, since we found the script, we don't need to hand it to Sal Manella. Instead, actually, I forgot to mention, instead of handing it to Sal Manella, we need to hand it to D. Vasquez. And we're going to do that in the next part. Because after all, things get a little bit more interesting in the next part. Sorry for rambling on throughout this part. See you guys at part 16.